for fuck's sake.
All right, from the greatest minds from around the world, this is the Nerds That Know, your podcast specially focused on butt stuff.
Oh my God, Stache.
Your wonderful parting gift is...
So, for those of you who were not with us during the discussion before we went live, there was a discussion about butt stuff.
And
Smurf just loved it. So, for those of you who are our dearest and most beloved fans, please send Smurf the largest dildos you can find because he likes things in his butt. The bigger, the better.
When he starts crying.
Oh.
And I don't have nearly enough wine for tonight's show.
Oh my God.
All right, Stache here. Oh man.
Bobby's here as well.
Knox here. Smurf here. And I'm not even half in the bag yet, and I'm already losing my shit. Oh my God.
And Bob
Half in the bag, but he's fully in the butt.
Oh my God. Oh,
Bob is our ethereal voice from afar this evening.
But chop my cute cup for my tea.
I do appreciate that teacup.
Is that a demon?
Yes.
All cats are demons.
That's not true.
Yes, it
That is
is. As I'm lovingly stroking my ears.
All of them are nice. I didn't say they were all bad. I said they're all demons.
Yeah, nobody said all demons are bad.
There's some good demons.
Isn't by a definition a demon a bad thing? I mean,
No, isn't a demon just a fallen angel?
You're wrong. Yeah.
A demon is an angel with no wings. That doesn't make him bad.
Yes.
Okay.
See? And people have told me many a time I can be an angel.
Demon is an angel that gets to do butt stuff. There we go.
Oh,
See? And this is why I want to be a demon. Yay, butt stuff. All right, so we actually do have nerdy things to talk about, and not just butt stuff.
Welcome to our podcast where we actually talk about nerdy stuff and not just butt stuff.
But while we're on the conversation of butt stuff, before we move on, just because I'm super fucking excited, when I'm not being the uber nerd and helping out and co-hosting Nerds That Know, I also run the Pet Play Palace, which is a fabulous pet play kink BDSM website, and we have officially gone live as of today, and this is very big news for me, and I'm super excited.
Yay!
So, while not nerdy, it is relevant to me, and it is also relevant to butt stuff.
That is true.
Probably.
So, let's start with the fact that Stache and Smurf have something to tell Tank.
Oh, really?
We do?
Oh, we're starting with that?
Yeah, we're starting with
I
that.
was gonna, just ease it in.
Nope. Just do it right now. Do your little dance.
Just gonna raw dog that son of a bitch, aren't you?
So good. Doing right.
That was a good call. I did not think that Bethesda would short sight themselves, or not. I guess not Bethesda,
But
but
Bethesda
Xbox.
didn't do shit. They're not.
Xbox are going to cut Bethesda games away from their competition. That was
Not all of them. Existing IP and
Good
stuff
stuff.
that is already supported. So like Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, that kind of stuff will also move forward. And their previously agreed games that were exclusive for a while, like Ghostwire Tokyo.
yeah.
Um,
Anything new?
Anything new sounds like we haven't gotten 100% surety on the language yet, but it's like 90% sure that
Based on what they said, it's
yeah.
for the time being, they will not be working with Sony or any other people, I guess, that could potentially carry it, but I don't really know of any. I mean, Nintendo, I guess, but...
Yeah, but I think with their specific terminology was all games going forward will be exclusive to places where Game Pass resides.
Which is Xbox and PC.
Yes, but there have been talks with Nintendo that maybe Game Pass may be feeling out the Switch.
That'd be a weird move.
That would be a very weird move.
But remember, Nintendo isn't a competitor. They always go and do their own thing, and so many Switches.
That's why it's always Nintendo. I'm surprised more on Nintendo's behalf.
Well, no, because Nintendo, if they do it that way, Nintendo adds games to their library at almost no cost to them. So it's absorbed into whatever the flat fee is going to be, and how they ever want to divvy that up. So it makes absolutely sense for Nintendo because they can continue to focus on the shit that they're going to do anyway.
They're going to have to pay a licensing fee for Xbox.
Why? Why? But
no, they'll have to pay it for Game Pass. But it's
exactly.
like
they get a cut. They don't have to pay for licensing or anything because they're just using the property. They're renting it, and it'll probably be a flat fee. There's no reason for them to worry about the IP because Xbox owns it. And if they're already licensed to carry it for Game Pass or something like that, then it's Nintendo. It's a win-win for Nintendo. Nintendo's like, okay,
Game
fine.
Pass name, they're going to have to pay Microsoft to do that, I'm assuming.
Well, that'll probably be a flat cost.
Wants that IP, that intellectual property, specifically on multiple services. I mean, that's what Xbox is pushing for, is they're pushing to become like a streaming service like Netflix. And it's like, to cover that bridge, eventually they're going to get rid of boxes, and then you can stream it on anything. And the first step to doing that is doing it on other consoles.
So basically, because PlayStation has their Plus program and the PS Now and all that crap, and them not wanting to push the Game Pass onto their system, basically.
That's the thing. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft was willing to be like, you can have these titles if Sony puts Game Pass on your system. Sony will never do it.
No shot that'll happen,
Yeah. So
not from PlayStation. Nintendo, on the other hand, they'll be like, all right, fine. We don't care. We're going to do our shit. It's more for our players.
Nintendo doesn't play nice usually. That's weird.
Well, it's not that they don't play nice. It's just that they have their own agenda. And most of the other gaming systems don't line up with their agenda. Because everyone has tried to take a crack at their IPs. And they don't want to share. And they shouldn't have to. So here's another, but it's the other route. We're not trying to get any of your IPs. We don't want anything. We just want to put this on your server as a benefit to your players at no cost to you, and we split the funds.
There's no way it's no cost.
Why? They're getting money from the subscription. They're getting money from people playing it.
It's no cost to Nintendo, but
exactly.
The people who get the service will definitely pay for it. And then who knows? Maybe.
And that's the weird part. Why is no cost for Nintendo an option here when they're not willing to share anything? Why the hell would Xbox be like, oh yeah, sure?
Because they're spreading out like Netflix and streaming services. It's a solid plan. It's an
interesting way to go about it.
It's diabolical, is what it is. It is absolutely diabolical.
No, it's the future, is what it is. It's like game systems, consoles.
Hi, Morgana. I'm going to interrupt the boys just to say hi to you. Thanks for watching.
Game consoles are time. Like, they're not going to last forever. I honestly would not be surprised if at the end of this generation, maybe halfway through the next generation, they're just like, okay, and now you no longer need a box.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's going to be a big retaliation on this. I'm assuming.
It's already been in progress, though, because xCloud has been under development for a couple of years now and has been in beta and just left beta.
And then when you look at who's got the best portable platform, it's the Switch. You don't need a console. You don't need any of that. So Xbox is looking at the future, and how easy is it to integrate into the future than throwing your Game Pass onto somebody else's console at a small split of fee, because they're doing all the heavy lifting. We're supplying you with the games. It's a win-win. I'm telling you.
I'm wondering what PlayStation's going to do in response.
See, that's the question.
That's the thing. No one knows because
they have a lot of their own IP too, which.
Oh yeah, Sony's take it to the cold grave if they have to. So it'll be curious to see what Sony comes up with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like I'm really curious because they are so far behind where Xbox is in this department right now that it is going to take a really big move.
That's somewhat debatable. I'd say their PS Plus is better than Xbox Live Gold. The Game Pass is much better than PS Now.
Well, so back in the day, if you bought a Sony television, like one of their XBRs or one of their higher end televisions,
I have one of those, yes.
You had access to their online subscription service. You could basically stream any of their HD movies that they owned for no cost. I honestly can see that Sony is probably at some point going to integrate all of the systems to doing just that. And it would only make sense that if you bought a Sony XBR television set or one of the higher, B series TVs.
You can get PSTV directly through your TVs.
So
I thought they discontinued that service.
Well,
I thought they did too.
PSTV
but
years.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them revisit that tactic again.
They're probably going to have to, honestly.
Yes.
They're probably going to have to do that. We're going to have to make some sort of consideration to make this competitive on that. Because I know it's debatable, but I'd say PlayStation Plus offers better games than Xbox Live Gold.
On
a month-to-month basis.
Because
not the Game Pass. Keep in mind, the Game Pass is ridiculous.
I know, but here's what Xbox Live was offered on Xbox Live Gold a couple months ago. And it's like that is one of their staple platforms and one of the biggest games they have, exclusive-wise.
Yeah.
Hi, William. Thanks for joining us.
Gives away, Ratchet and Clank, God of War, MLB The Show.
Wow, Stache is getting his ass kicked by a dog.
That's true.
Gotta bring up the butt stuff again, don't you, Smurf?
I'm saying at least in the last year, I have both. I have Game Pass and I have PS Plus.
Yeah.
I play more of my PlayStation free games than Xbox by far.
Are you saying you wouldn't play the llama game on Xbox right now?
I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'm saying I'd play Ratchet and Clank before I do that.
I know, man. The llama game is pretty great.
All right. I also want to just tell everybody, one of the reasons I wanted to start with this particular topic is because all three of the guys told me, we've beat this topic to death. It's only going to be like a couple of minutes. We just want to say I told you so and then move on.
No, honestly, we didn't want to address it at all.
You said I want to just say I told you so and move on. That was all this was supposed to be, was an I told you so and then move on.
Okay, but we got to do the conversation.
You should have introduced it like you did. I blame you for this.
Well, I'm fine. I get blamed for everything.
You should have waited till we were more beat up and tired. Wait till the later rounds to offer up the big one.
That's true.
This is not the big one. Hi, Tony. Thanks for joining.
That was some low-hanging fruit, to be honest.
The big one we're going to go to next is going to be Justice League. And the 4-hour fucking Snyder cut.
Yeah, I was going to say the Snyder cut of Justice League, which is the original cut of Justice League. Before Joss
holy my fuck.
Well, not entirely, because there were some reshoots done.
There was one reshoot.
I heard there were 7 minutes of reshoots, which means
all of it was the one scene, that scene, the epilogue scene.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was the scene reshoot. Everything else was existing material that had been either removed from Whedon's cut or not added at all.
Interesting.
That's why a lot of this stuff was literally adding stuff in.
Yeah.
They had almost no new material shot for it.
That's interesting because some of this felt very different, and
most of it felt very different.
Oh well, maybe that was. Yeah.
Oh no, they added a lot of stuff, but it was
Hi,
exact
Izzy.
stuff.
Yeah.
I adore you, and I think you're fabulous. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Please, all of you, give us your take on the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
I'm assuming all of us watched it. What's our base level feelings on it? Let's start with you, Nick.
This is the movie that they should have cut a little bit, but it was a little too long. And the only reason I say it's a little too long is because I think they added part of another movie into this, and I think that was because he was told this was his only chance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it wouldn't have been as long if he knew he was going somewhere else with it, because you could see where he was going in a lot of ways. You could see what was coming up next, and it was obvious that the reason he jammed a bunch of stuff into this was because they told him no more. This is it.
Yeah, you're not getting another shot.
He had a one shot to do this.
Yeah. That's what I say.
I bet they're regretting at this point.
No, they have officially gone to the media and said, this is it. There's nothing else coming after this.
Yeah.
This is done. There's no more Snyderverse. There's no any of this. So anything he said as cliffhangers, as potential, the whole Jared Leto Joker thing, all of that, not happening.
And I think that's why.
Right out said, done.
Well, I don't think we may be getting a movie, but I do think we'll be getting something else, like maybe a spin-off series.
They're going to have to pay him a pile of money to make that happen at this point, I think.
No, he's not coming back.
At this point, I don't think it would have been as long. I think this was a movie, and that he jammed an hour of, that's what you're going to miss because this is only going to be my one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. There were at least half of 2 other movies in this.
Oh yeah.
There was half of the Flash movie, and there was definitely 3/4 of the Cyborg movie.
This movie should have ended with them with Superman just coming back is where this movie should have ended. And originally, you could tell that there was a cutoff point, and that was him returning and fighting against them was going to be something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, well, I only get one shot. Well, they're going to kill everybody now. And I'm going to leave you hanging because now he's here, but you don't get to see him any more than this.
Yeah, that was So when I first started watching this movie, I was like, did I not pay any attention at all to the Justice League? Or is this just that different?
Yeah, here's
that different.
Here's the difference in editing. Here's the difference in storytelling. So Joss Whedon sat down and probably watched all of this, realized how much better it was than anything he had done. The crybaby that Joss is said, okay, that's not going to stand, and hacked the shit out of it.
Well,
I do feel like there's a happy median in between these 2 movies.
Or a distressed fortune teller.
This movie is the right length.
But
and it's the right content.
Smurf, what were you saying, real quick?
Well, and I think you're right, because it is a setup for the second film, because especially when you're left with the epilogue with Luthor and Deathstroke and The Dream and Martian Manhunter, that's clearly a second film.
Right.
All of that is
set
just
up for 4 films.
Yeah,
I could tell.
So when Josh sits down to look at this to save the film, he's probably under specific direction from the executives. We need it this long. Cut it down to this time frame and have it kind of lucid. Have it make sense. And if you need to reshoot some stuff, all right, fine. Which obviously they did because Josh needed stuff. Yeah.
Well, and
they really did.
They made a whole new movie.
Okay, they added all of the Joss Whedon cheesy, comedic corny lines and stuff.
Oh yeah.
None of that was in this
None.
cut.
No.
And I liked it
Well,
better
no,
for it.
that's not true. There was some, but
Not
it
the
was
same
very
kind of.
It wasn't that
Yeah,
same
but
slapstick, you
Zack Snyder
know,
still does funny, but just
tongue in
funny.
cheek kind of humor.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the dry humor of the perfect example of the dry humor that Snyder has is when they sit into the Mercedes. You've got Flash and Batman sitting there. What's your superpower? Well, I'm rich. All right, that's clearly Snyder. And then you've got the other freaking Whedon cornball.
Hi, Jay.
Kind
Thanks
of
for watching.
lame shit.
You mean
Like,
hey,
hey.
motorboating Wonder Woman?
Yeah, motorboating Wonder Woman. You brought a fork to a gunfight.
Yeah.
It's
Zack Snyder's humor came through though. Like even with Cyborg and Flash talking to each other.
Yes.
Do you think she likes younger guys? It's like she's 5,000 years old. Everybody's younger.
Everybody's younger.
Plus, there was never that whole
dry
like.
wit versus corny. I brought a fork to a gunfight.
And
And then in the Whedon version, and it may have been in Snyder and I just missed it, but I didn't see it. Right, the whole time, like Flash is trying to get Cyborg to do the fist bump, and he's like, "Oh, is it a cultural thing? Is it a cultural thing? Is that why you won't fist bump me?"
Yeah.
And then at the end, like they fist bump, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
In this cut, it was just like they're teammates. It's not a thing. It's just like they're sharing a moment. Hi, Rose. Thanks for joining.
Jesus Christ, Cyborg! Ray Fisher had a right to be pissed.
He did.
Oh my God!
The majority of his performance was on the cutting room floor.
Almost all of it.
There was so much left out of his. I would have been pissed if I was him. I'd be like, bitch, I was in that suit for weeks.
And the amount of backstory that they gave us on everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the way that Diana knows so much and like all of the information that she has makes so much more sense.
Well, in that beginning with the
right, that whole history lesson that we get.
Yeah, there's 10 more minutes of a fight scene at the beginning of that movie with the Amazons. There's a whole 10-minute fight scene that they added to the
Hi,
movie.
Fox, we love you.
Well, and
show us your butt.
Well, and the funny thing is, Superman is pretty much left out of the film. Superman's not in this film.
And he's not supposed to be.
He's not. In Joss's film, he's pretty much, added to it and tries to carry it because he didn't want to rely on what was there because there was so much that he had to cut out to do it. So,
but Superman is such
we get Superman in the
tiny
black
part.
costume, we get so much more from so little put in. And that's what's great about it.
Plus we get the darker, like, re-earthed, like, second chance Superman, as opposed to this sunny Kansas boy. I'm here to save the day. Everybody, I love you. Superman.
Well, it looked more realistic. Snyder's version of it looked like it made more sense. The whole story made more sense.
One of the lines that is completely different that I love, and I have it. The whole line is where did I have you saved? I have it actually pulled up. See, in the Whedon verse, in the Whedon cut, like Superman's like, well, I believe in truth, but I'm also a big fan of justice. And in the Snyder cut, like Superman just looks at Steppenwolf and goes, "Yeah, I'm not impressed."
Yeah, his ass.
And then he's just like, kapow.
Oh man!
Right?
And that's how it's supposed to be. That is literally how it's supposed to be.
Exactly, but
that was brutal, man.
That's the Superman that you saw at the end of Man of Steel. That's
yes, it is,
Superman,
and that's the
like,
Superman.
I'm not happy anymore. I'm going to take it out on you and beat the shit out of him for it.
But then we
Guess
also
what?
see,
I'm having a bad day, and you're catching all of it, motherfucker.
But there's still those like good little lines in there, like when Clark and Bruce are sitting there and they're talking about like the house. It's like, how'd you get the bank to give it back? I bought the bank.
Yeah.
All right, we actually have a question from one of our viewers. Rose asks, which actor did you enjoy the most playing Superman of all of our Supermans?
Of all time, including the newest one?
Let's go with that, because it just says, which actor do you enjoy the most?
You know, I love Cavill. Cavill is just so badass.
He's the only one I've had any connection to whatsoever. So.
As Superman, I'm leaning towards Cavill. As Clark Kent, I'm really liking the new guy from
the Lois and Superman series.
Lois, as Kent.
He's actually really growing on me, and I'm not a Superman fan by any stretch of the imagination, and I go on huge rants about this on my podcast and in my write-ups. But I'm really enjoying the Superman series. Yeah. It's so much more than what I was expecting from the CW.
Yeah, I think he's my favorite Clark Kent at this point, but Henry Cavill,
Cavill is just so imposing and such a specimen. I mean, I was watching when we see the back of him when he lands in Smallville at the farm.
So here's my thing with Cavill is like Cavill.
We don't even see his chest. It's just this chiseled granite of a back that's a perfect pyramid. It's like holy.
I wasn't the biggest Cavill fan until I saw Witcher.
You know, and that's fair. I mean, because I didn't see Mission Impossible. Man of Steel kind of was 50-50. It wasn't until I saw The Man from U.N.C.L.E. that I was like, Cavill's the deal.
And then I'm like, holy mother of fuck, that man is amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was The Man from U.N.C.L.E. that totally was like, done. This dude is legit.
Yeah.
And,
so
and I think it was a combination of his physique in addition to Guy Ritchie doing the film. Because Man from U.N.C.L.E. is a Guy Ritchie film, so there's heavy dialogue, and there's a chance for Cavill to actually express himself on a level that we hadn't seen yet. And then, of course, Witcher comes along, and there's so many levels to that character that are just absolutely mind-blowing that Cavill is more than capable of doing. I'll never watch the Mission Impossible film, so I have no point of reference on that. But
what if we were able to do one of those like replace your face things, and we have you taking the place of Tom Cruise?
No, I would still know it's Tom Cruise, regardless of my jovial, ruggedly handsome face over that pipsqueak body. Nothing more.
I got to admit, as Zack Snyder has done something like similar to you. I've never been a Superman fan. I knew what it was. I read it. Blah blah blah. There are certain parts that were cool. There are certain parts that were fun. Him beating up the Klan was always a fun thing. There's parts of Superman's history that's entertaining, but it's always been, he's indestructible.
Yeah,
that's Zack Snyder made him human-like in not only his ability to be hurt, but also in his ability to be human and have an emotional response to something.
Well, and that's what I think, and I know this is going to be way out of left field, but Kill Bill 2 does the perfect representation of what Superman is.
I agree.
And I think that just completely sells it. That's absolutely what Superman is. Superman is always Superman. Clark Kent is the alter ego to Superman. And to see him actually be human and Superman at the same time is kind of, it's nice.
It gives him emotional depth.
Yeah, it's refreshing.
And you get to see him be actually angry. You get to see him be sad. You get to see him be scared. You get to, you get to see Superman experience human feelings.
It's fun. I liked it. I like it. But I will say this now: the Snyder Cut did redeem Affleck as a Bat.
Oh, fuck! I want to see another Batman movie now.
I
Rose, we also love both Marvel and DC.
Yeah, there's a long conversation of which is better and which is not. It just depends on the comic.
It just says Marvel and DC, so we'll just agree with her on both are fabulous in their own unique ways.
Yes. Yeah, so I want to see Bat Affleck. Absolutely. More of that.
Batfleck, yes.
Batfleck, absolutely. I am a fan after that one.
Yeah, I will say this cut did fuck up the Flash worse, though.
Yes and no.
I think they gave
feel
him
like-
a little bit more interest, actually.
No, I think they did the exact opposite because they took the interesting dynamic with Bruce and him away. Because
How so?
in the original cut, like Bruce Wayne was being like his teacher and really the way to become a hero.
But there's no
And-
point to that.
Flash is
I mean,
already a hero.
Yeah, but at the same time, like that was an interesting development for him.
I think the only reason,
I just felt like the Flash didn't change. He was like, "Oh, I have one rule. Let me break this rule."
well, but he broke
Yeah.
it in. He broke it in a meaningful way. Look how they did that scene. How they gave
That
him
was
power.
With the
huge.
time,
They gave his power. They made his power more interesting.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
which
so
is, I mean, that's the fundamental thing about Flash is he always deals with fucking up time.
all right,
But
hold
they
on.
did it in such
So-
a cool way. Even the first when they first did the part with the mother box getting dropped in,
Yeah,
that was how they put that together was ridiculous.
All right,
And what I
so
love that
guys,
they
I'm going to
took
interrupt
out-
you for a second because we did have a question here.
Okay.
Says Snyder Cut had serious audio issues with the consistency in the bat voice. So
Yes.
thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
I think that's because they had a hard time. They probably had a hard time just migrating it, honestly.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think that it was a conscious choice of whether or not he's using the digital bat voice, and I think it was also Affleck himself trying to figure out when because he would use like the bat voice at specific times. If you're watching it, it's different when it's just the team and no one else can eavesdrop, but when they're in public and at any time anything could happen, he's totally Kevin Conroy. I mean, he's on.
Well, and I think some of it is
I
because they,
exist when it's important. That was in a great freaking. I thought you were a myth. I'm not a myth until it's important. It was just kind of like, all right, I totally dig that.
All right,
Okay.
Vance, does that direct your question, answer you a bit?
well, and I also think part of it was they did do audio stuff.
Mhm.
Snyder even said he did audio stuff.
restored this movie.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So,
I'm
like,
still stuck
everybody
on
in
previous
the music
conversation, and audio stuff just made my brain go in a whole different way.
Well, you could tell that there were some composition things that they did when they some of the stuff they used existing stuff. They used existing stills and existing video, but they did composite audio for part of it. They had to bring in alternate audio.
All right,
Yeah,
So-
I'm sure
so-
they ADR'd the shit out of it, and there's stuff that doesn't translate. So he made best do because you're not going to go do pickups.
Yeah,
So,
so,
whatever they had.
the example that was given was under Stryker Island. It goes from the vocal modifier to the modifier being randomly off and on.
I know.
Maybe it
I
was.
think that was a editing issue.
That
That
was-
wasn't.
Whatever he had shot had to be put together.
Yeah.
That's
know,
what happened.
And it could also be that, hey, the whole Gotham, what is it, waterworks or whatever?
Gotham Harbor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Words are hard.
Yes. But-
Are coming in, and so it's messing with the electronics. Suspend your
So-
belief while watching the movie, Vance.
I mean, that's
But-
how you can excuse.
Just, give him shit for actually making mistakes because, like, as much as we're praising this movie, I do feel like he
It was-
There were
needed someone
definitely
that did
mistakes.
this very
It
badly.
was not the best movie, and it probably not as good as he could have done. Honestly,
But on a
He got
scale of
pulled.
1 to DC movies, this was really damn good.
well, and compared to the Whedon cut of this, it was
Oh, yeah.
amazing.
It's much better than the initial one, but I think it's a fine movie. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a good movie.
Well,
No,
when
it's
you
not the
look,
best. No.
I think it was an entertaining movie, and I don't think it felt like a 4-hour movie.
Oh, I definitely feel. Did you watch it in one sitting?
Yes.
At the very end with the epilogue, you could kind of start to feel the runtime. You're like, okay,
Yeah, I definitely, like, halfway through the final fight, I was just like, oh my god, I am fucking done.
I only got up to pee once.
And
That's
it's
what I'm
I didn't
saying.
eat at all. I just sat there the whole fucking time.
Well,
And
I drank an
powered
entire
through it.
pot of tea during the movie because
Well, I mean,
tea
to
is
be
life.
fair, it's no Watchmen.
No,
I mean,
it's
when,
not.
When you
No.
compare it to Watchmen, which I consider probably one of his finest works.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I
Sure,
think that
there's.
movie is one of the best superhero movies of all time.
I agree. It's in the top 5 easy. For DC, top 3. But when you compare the two, there are some significant differences. Now, if Snyder had been able to see this all the way through to completion
Yes.
and not been interrupted, would we have
Well,
ended up
I
with
mean,
this 4-hour?
You do know
Monstrosity?
why he was interrupted, right? I do feel like it's
His daughter died. Yes.
Yeah, his daughter
Yes.
committed suicide. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't blame him.
He
I blame
definitely-
Warner Brothers. I blame
Yeah,
Warner
he
Brothers.
definitely needed to step away from this for a time. And
Mhm.
seeing the splash card at the end, tributing this movie to her, was
Oh yeah,
a
That's
very,
great.
very sweet and powerful thing.
Agreed.
It's very nice.
I 100% blame Warner Brothers and DC Films. That's who I blame. Who were impatient and they had to force this movie out. So they're like, "Oh, let's just get a different director and do what we can."
Because
Yeah.
it really had no bearing on anything. I mean, if anything, it makes the Aquaman story a lot more disjointed.
Yeah.
I actually. All right. So
The
you
Flash-
remember when I'm talking about Aquaman's appearance when we first reviewed Justice League when it first came out? I was talking about how much I disliked it because Aquaman has the trident and he has armor, which doesn't make sense.
Until
Yeah.
you see what happened.
But in
Yeah.
this cut, you actually see, okay, it does actually make sense because he's given that.
Mhm.
And
I
all of
know,
a sudden,
this
then you're
movie
going,
would've come out,
oh.
But they never explained his magically reappearing sweaters that he took off in slow motion as he went back into the ocean.
Shut
I
up.
love the
Leave
chick
me my
sitting there
happy.
Smelling it. That was the best. The chick
That-
was just
that-
getting high.
That makes sense.
Oh my god! It was like I'm like, when is Snuggle gonna grab that clip and just use that and have the teddy bear walking off in the distance as that woman just.
That makes sense, okay? So I'm sitting there with my housemate Winter, who has not seen the Wheaton version of Justice League, right? So this is her introduction to all
Okay.
DC movies, right?
Yeah.
She hasn't seen anything,
Wow, that's a hardcore movie to start with.
Yeah.
right? I also didn't warn her about the length of the movie. I just said, hey, I'm going to watch Justice League. Do you want to join me?
Oh, you're evil.
Yeah, that's really fucked up.
Right? And she's sitting there and she's going, yeah, I would do that to that sweater too.
But I mean, if you look at the progression that Snyder has done, especially when you see what he did with 300, with Watchmen, and you can see what he had planned for Justice League. Sure, it falls short in a couple of areas. I'm still thinking that the Flash story is a little bit better because they actually gave his character more than, and this is totally a Josh thing. Why just show up and trip people? So, you can tell Josh had no clue about Flash. That's why he made Batman his kind of his protege.
Well, that entire
Well,
ending
he made Flash Batman's
Yes.
protege.
Yeah,
Strike that, reverse it.
yeah, pardon me. Yes, you're
that
right.
entire end sequence was so much better. With
Yes.
the Flash having to
Oh, yeah.
restart the universe that had just basically got blown
Been
up.
destroyed.
Disintegrated.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. And I don't know if I like the way they have him running, which is kind of strange, especially after watching the Flash TV show.
Yeah.
But I honestly think
He
I
runs a
felt-
lot creepier.
Yeah, he runs like that weird special kid you saw in the 6th grade that was just nothing but gangly arms.
But I like the
And-
way
and
he
didn't
talks
know
to
what to do.
himself. I like that that's like still very Barry.
It is very Barry, and it's I liked it a lot more than the previous Flash. It's not my
Yeah.
favorite Flash, but it's a better Flash.
Right, while we're talking about favorites, Rose, who asked us about our favorite Superman, also wants to know who's our favorite Lex Luthor.
Oh,
That's a harder one.
John Cryer.
He is such
Yes.
he is such a
He was
dick,
so good.
Lex Luthor. He's
John
so much
Cryer.
smarter than the other Lex Luthors. He's so much smarter.
And as much as I want to pay homage
I think
to Gene
Stache is
Hackman,
actually looking up who else played Lex Luthor. That's why his screen went black.
Gene,
That's
I mean,
true.
as much as I love Gene Hackman, and there's no beating Hackman's performance. The man is a legend, and he's
This is true.
absolutely priceless in his delivery of Lex Luthor, especially when Superman drops him off in the prison. I'm Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mind of our time. But just how Cryer delivers Luthor and just vile dirtiness.
He's so much shadier.
He's so shadier, and he does a great
He's
job.
kind of oily.
Smarter.
Yeah.
He's so much smarter and so much more evil. And
I feel like Cryer has this like mob boss meets like, I don't know, billionaire,
nerd.
yes.
Yeah, he's way more tactical.
If
and
Iron Man went the wrong way.
So good. He's so good. And I mean, I love Rosenblum from Smallville, and I mean,
He did a good job, but I have to agree with Cryer.
Cryer is really good. I think he's very unappreciated.
Vance says Clancy Brown for the win.
Well, that's animated, and Clancy Brown does a lot of different voices for the show. As far as a voice is concerned, absolutely. When I'm reading a comic, I hear Clancy Brown's voice. Same thing with Batman. I always hear Kevin Conroy.
Same here. Yeah,
So,
that's a different thing. Voice
That's
acting
a
is
different thing.
I feel like
Yeah.
I hear Kevin Conroy with many different voices and not just Batman.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
We're going to start looping in like voices. Kevin Conroy's the best Batman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark Hamill's the best Joker.
Mhm.
We're
So,
gonna
yeah,
go back.
there's so many different animated people that have done Lex's voice. Same with Batman. Same with Joker. The animated side is so difficult because you don't know who's on the other side of the mic. But from a performance standpoint, that you can actually see them inflect and develop a character in front of you. I think Cryer develops. I would love to see Clancy Brown in the flesh.
That'd be cool.
Lex Luthor. That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Dexter because he's the new serial killer in the Dexter reboot that's
awesome.
coming up.
Yeah.
So to see Clancy Brown, because Kurgan all the way, baby.
I was
That
going to say,
makes sense.
Vance does say he's the fracking Kurgan. There can be only one.
Absolutely. He's always and will be the Kurgan. I only watched the Goldbergs for a while because Clancy Brown was the gym teacher. Or no, he was the shop teacher.
Yeah.
And they did this whole Highlander episode. It was brilliant. I loved it. So Clancy Brown all the way. I loved him in Carnival Row. Clancy Brown is fucking gold. Absolutely.
And while we're talking about Vance, he decided to throw a little wrench into our discussion. And he specifically says, just to add controversy, more Dark Horse, less Marvel.
Well, maybe. I mean, it depends on maybe. I don't know. Dark Horse
has some really good IP, but Marvel,
Dark Horse
has a better like universe and like
So are we
complication of things.
saying Zack Snyder's interpretation of the material compared to Joss Whedon's interpretation of the material for Justice League?
Yeah,
I
Vance,
would
answer
agree.
that one. Please be more specific.
Yeah.
I'm yelling at my phone like you can hear me.
Yeah, 'cause I was
Through
Dark Horse
my
doesn't have a
phone.
whole lot of IPs right now,
I
with
would
the
agree
exception
with-
of Hellboy.
And how they're presented, yes, Zack Snyder's interpretation is much more Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Interpretation is much more Marvel. Yes. Because Zack Snyder's always been the darker, brooding, more sinister stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially when you look at what he did with 300, when he brought that whole thing to life. I mean, that was just brilliant at the time.
I
Especially as
loved
much as it
300.
incorporated from the comics and Frank Miller's vision, and actually pulling from the Battle of Thermopylae from history.
Right?
I mean, Snyder is just. I mean, DC likes to torture its characters. Make no exception. DC loves to torture characters more than anybody. But Snyder brings it to life so much better, especially when in Watchmen, just the tragedy that surrounds that entire film is a masterpiece. It's better than The Godfather as far as the tragedy that befalls all of those characters.
No, but to get back to what we were kind of, Zack Snyder, I think if he would have been able to follow through, if they would have just put it on hold, if they would have just
Which
put it on
it
hold,
could have been put on hold
until he gets back, this would have been a 3-hour movie.
Easily. And other parts setting up for the next film.
Exactly. And then the other chunk, the other hour, would have been parts of another movie that was coming up.
There is a whole list of films that were put into the void of never happening in the DCEU.
Some amazing ones. We were about to get Injustice.
Yeah. And
that's what that was.
Dark Justice.
Yeah. We were going to get a Cyborg movie that probably would have been pretty cool.
Yep.
Gonna get.
He's such an emo little bitch. I don't know if I could sit for an entire movie.
I love Cyborg, man.
Dude, he was so whiny. He's the complete opposite of who he is.
20-year-old kid that got killed and then brought back to life using a magic computer.
I like that when
he's gonna whine and bitch about it the whole time.
No, okay. First off, he doesn't whine and bitch about it the whole time. He only whines and bitches about it for part of the time. Second, I like that when he's really in the zone and like is super like into what he's doing, he goes into his head and you see him as he sees himself.
I kind of want to see Ray Fisher play RoboCop.
God, that just reminds me of the RoboCop reboot they did. Oh my God.
No, they did so much more with Cyborg in this movie. They gave him it was so good.
It was an entirely different film with him. I mean, that was
he makes sense as a character now, and he did.
Yeah. And Wonder Woman wasn't just beat to shit and then showed up randomly. Like
she actually had a character in this film.
Yeah.
And she wasn't just a sex symbol, for fuck's sake. I liked who she was in this movie. I hated her portrayal in the previous. Okay.
I like it murder people, so
they made her fucking mean. They made her.
And
they didn't make her mean. They made her powerful.
Well, no, I mean mean in a good way. Like they made her more Amazonian in nature. And said,
yes, they made her what she needed to be.
Fuck people up.
Yes, they made her what she needed to be. Okay, and we do have clarification. We have clarification from Vance on his question about the Dark Horse. So it says, Hellboy, let's bring back Del Toro, The Mage, Grendel, Lone Wolf, and Club. All could be amazing series and franchises that are darker than Marvel. Let's get the gang back together. Finale battle motif.
I just want a good Spawn, guys. That's all I
want. So we've got Usagi Yojimbo, which is coming to animated, which is kind of dark. I don't know if we'll ever see a Lone Wolf and Cub because I don't know where the license landed for that.
I have a Kiki delivery service mug.
There has Dark DC probably owns it.
DC probably owns it now. To answer his question, though, for the Del Toro Hellboy, there have been rumors circulating that Ron Perlman wants to get together with Del Toro and do the third Hellboy film that was supposed to happen.
I would watch the motherfucking shit out of that.
Yeah. So that has been a rumor that's been floating around for a while. Ron Perlman's on board, Del Toro is on board, but it's a whether or not they can get it to work out legally, and if Del Toro has time, because he's still working on like the new Troll Hunters series that's coming out later this year.
Oh, there's a new series? I thought we were just getting the movie this year.
What's that?
I thought we were just getting the Troll Hunter movie this year. I didn't know we were getting a new series.
Well, it's a movie series. It's kind of the same thing with Netflix has been doing.
Yeah.
Ron Perlman is also, I think, starting to get up there in age. of whether or not he's able to perform as Hellboy.
Stunt double.
Is he 60 yet?
He's in there. He's getting up there in age, so
I think he might be at this point.
So they are working on it, but there are. I mean, unfortunately, Dark Horse lost a lot of its properties. I mean, Aliens 1 comes out this week from Marvel, which was Dark Horse's like bread and butter for a while. They lost Star Wars, so and I mean they've got the license to Stranger Things right now, but as far as like new IPs from Dark Horse, only the future will tell for them. But I agree. I'm hoping Del Toro and Perlman get back together for Hellboy 3.
That would make me very happy.
Yeah, I'd say the only issue is you'd have to license out a lot of IP to make that movie happen. And I don't know if DC or Dark Horse as a company obviously can't do it, but DC would have to be the money on that, I'm assuming.
Hi, Paige. Thanks for joining us.
To even make that close to possible, I think it'd have to come from DC.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure. But I mean, all Aliens, Predator, all that's under Marvel's banner now. So
yeah, they own all of it now.
Yep, they do.
Well,
which is sad.
Any last final thoughts on Justice League?
I wish it would have come out 4 years ago, or
all right.
I wish it was the 3-hour movie that it's definitely supposed to be.
That I'll agree with. I just wish it was a little bit better.
But it was significantly better than the Whedon version.
Oh, God.
It's definitely better than that. It's
100 times better than that. That movie was disheartening to begin with, and it's so much more a piece of crap after watching the Zack Snyder cut.
And can we say, compared to any of the other recent DC movies,
I liked Shazam better.
Yeah.
I liked
I have heard that Shazam is better.
If any of you say Suicide Squad or the Harley Quinn movie, I'm going to cut your faces.
Wonder Woman was better, the first one, not 84.
The first Wonder Woman screwed up her origin story.
Yeah,
just get over it. It's in the past.
It was still better than the Justice League.
Then the Whedon Justice League, yes. Then this Justice League, yes and no. I liked her portrayal better in this one because she wasn't just a sex object.
What are we talking about for recent? Because do we include the Joker into that?
Okay,
no.
I don't think that's a comic book movie.
No, because that'd be the best movie by far.
Okay.
Do we include Man of Steel into this?
Yes.
That's not recent then. Then we would have to include all the dark
and Vance, no, we did get the point of Wonder Woman 84.
We got it.
We got it. The point was it was shit.
The point was that once again Warner Brothers interfered and made a movie that the director didn't want to fucking make.
So Vance says we're all too young to understand the point of Wonder Woman 84.
I was born in the 80s.
I lived through the 80s.
I was also, we were all born in the 80s.
No,
well,
Smurf was not born in the 80s.
Smurf was not born in the 80s, but the rest of us.
But the point is, we all understood Wonder Woman 84.
Smurf was very active in the 80s.
Yeah, not active enough to earn that giggle.
I completely understand that they were going for this hyper-indulgent time period. The problem was they fucked it up.
Mm-hmm.
My point is...
I think that there would have just been better choices. I like they wanted to incorporate Max Lord, but there were so many better choices than him as the villain, especially if they wanted to incorporate him later in some of the Justice League, especially when you do like Infinite Crisis and what happens with Blue Beetle. And all of that, I just think it was a poor choice. And again, I'm betting the other edited version of that film is entirely different than what was delivered on the screen.
I'm assuming Patty Jenkins' original vision of this was better.
Yes, I'm going to agree with that.
I'm assuming that, like, entirely. I think Warner Brothers has this interference issue right now, and it keeps fucking things up.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But I'd say this movie was better than I'd put Man of Steel slightly ahead of Justice League.
I mean, I think Man of Steel was just a good movie, and I hate Superman, so like it's much better.
And Shazam was better, so I'd say like fourth for me.
Still a solid top 5.
Yeah, I'd say it's top 5. Yeah, that Joss Whedon one was dog shit. So let's go ahead and bury that in a fucking hole alongside Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern.
I'm sorry, that's a good movie. Don't you remember?
Oh yeah.
So one of the things that I came away with on this particular cut of Justice League was it no longer felt like a superhero movie, and it felt like a comic book movie.
Oh god, yeah. It felt much more the way he shot it. He purposely shot it in 4:3 to give it that more vertical, dynamic movement that the comic books have. That was totally intentional.
You know, but like there are some that are superhero movies, and like their whole point is to be fun and explosive and action and blah 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 blah. But this was a comic book movie the way it was released recently.
Yeah.
And that was my big takeaway from this cut. Stache wouldn't understand that since he's anti-comic book.
Oh my god, get over it.
Never.
I'm not anti-comic book. I just have preferences that are very in favor of one direction.
I was going to say a preference. There's not preferences. That means
Preferences
multiple
implies more than
choices.
one.
You have a preference. That's it. There's not more than one.
He thinks comic books are not literature.
What?
All right, moving on. What else we got?
Speaking of comic books in DC, do you guys want to rant?
You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay.
You own a shop. I don't own a shop anymore. So I'm happy.
I'm on the fuck DC and their profiteering book right now. They're escalating prices again for no reason this time. Last time they had a price hike, it was because they actually increased the page count. That was a couple years ago. They increased it from 24 to 32. And there you go, increase in price. They are now increasing the price of all of their mainline books to $6.
Yes. No,
Oh, no,
six. It's
$5,
$6.
and then $6 for variant covers. If you get the stock covers, which I provide. And there is no increase in anything. There's been a notable decrease in quality recently, so it's kind of an interesting choice to make now. Fuck them.
How do you really feel?
It makes me angry because they did it with the future state stuff. They did the price hike during the future state line, and they've said, "Oh, that's only for the future state stuff. The only reason we're doing this is so we can give more to the artists because it's up and coming artists and stuff like that." Okay,
which was a lie, but
which was
okay.
bullshit. But
it was a good lie.
That was their excuse for it.
And
now
to be
they're doing it anyway.
And to be fair, the Batman book and Dark Detective were a little bit thicker. They added some story, but in recent, we don't have to go that far. We can just go to the Black Label Catwoman Batman series. All right, issue 3 was no bigger than a pamphlet that you would pick up at Discount Tire, and they wanted almost $9 for that piece of shit.
I actually have it over here somewhere.
And I opened the book. I kid you not. I picked it up. I opened the book, and it went straight to an ad. I was furious. I'm paying all of this money for a thicker book, or a thicker size book, almost magazine size, and getting nothing out of it. But see, this isn't DC. This is AT&T.
Yeah, well, and that's. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said fuck DC. Fuck AT&T.
Fuck AT&T. They don't know how to run a company, obviously, and they acquired DC through some stupid loophole in a contract that ended up with them in their lap, and they don't know how to just let them be to make money.
They don't have
So-
a real comic business. That's for damn sure.
Tank,
No.
mom's watching. Say hi.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. So I have gone through multiple price hikes in my lifetime. I remember going down and picking up comic books for a quarter, and then playing a couple video games and skipping my happy ass home.
See, Vance, I told you not to guess any of our ages.
There's no way you still picked up quarter books. Seriously?
So
I know how old he is, Tank. I'll tell you off air.
No, you can't tell anyone.
I figured you
Oh,
might have hit the tail
hi,
end
Daddy.
of the 35-cent comics, maybe, but not 25.
I mean, I remember shelling out 75 cents for a comic and going, "Wow, that was well worth it." But that was like a giant-sized
Yeah.
annual, or
Smurf also
that's
walked uphill both
special
ways,
edition.
barefoot in the snow in the blazing sun to get to school.
I have
So-
75-cent comics. I remember that. That was
But I
still
re-
in my
Yes, but I remember when the line was drawn at $1.95, and you felt like you were getting worthwhile for $1.95. This is desperation from AT&T. This is the beginning of the end of a comic book era, because I honestly do not see DC coming out on the other side of this, especially with the knee-jerk reaction of cutting all of the other flotsam, if you will, of other titles. They're staying with the core staple characters, Batman, Superman, Flash, Justice League, and a couple smatterings of other titles that are, hip and happening that they think are going to sell. So they're hiking the prices, cutting back on titles, and in the end are going to put DC out of business.
Unfortunately, yes. At this point, it is going to be very difficult for them to come out of this. Their sales were already declining.
And the parentals say they remember 25-cent comics, Dad, especially when he was a kid.
I don't dispute that. He was, yeah. He watched the original runs of Batman 66. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And actually, then he responds with, "Yay, Batman."
And, yeah. DC, at this point, is being forced closed by another company that doesn't know what it's doing.
So when
Exactly.
AT&T, I'm honestly asking, when AT&T acquired DC, did they also, take stake in the DCEU? Do they own
That's it.
everything?
They own it all.
They technically own all of it because, well,
They own Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Mother Jesus.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers acquired DC back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And that's why the Warner Brothers store were so popular at the time. Because they
Right,
had
I
actual
remember that.
animated cells from Batman the Animated Series,
DC
Superman.
exclusive stuff. Yeah.
DC exclusives. They had the logos, they had the licenses. So that's why the Warner Brothers stores were so, big and powerful back in the day.
While everyone is saying fuck DC, Mom says Marvel is better, go Spidey.
I like your mom. Your
Spidey's
mom's
about to get an interesting turn, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that's a later story. But to see what they're going to do, AT&T doesn't know how to run. If anything, they should do like Marvel did with Disney. They left Joe Quesada in charge, run the company, make us money. We'll leave you alone. And they did. They had more bankroll and they had more power and they could have done it. If they would give Jim Lee the keys and say, "Here, you and Scott Snyder go out and create a universe," it could be done.
Well, they
But-
kind of did. They gave Jim Lee the keys, but they put the fucking reins on him immediately.
Oh yeah, they put the screws
Well,
on.
it's one of those things like, hey, here's the keys, but don't forget we still have the driver's controls on the other side, so we can push that emergency brake whenever we want to.
Which they've done
Daddy,
repeatedly.
Marvel is real, and there are other superheroes other than Batman. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And-
and Batman Beyond.
Yeah, he's not even getting a book. He's done.
No. Batman Beyond,
He's not
unfortunately. Yeah.
They're not doing
He's out.
anthologies for him.
Nope. He's done.
Son of a bitch.
And all of the trades for him are not being printed. There's so many things out of print right now from DC that you can't even order.
Yeah.
That it's mind blowing.
Whereas
what's
Marvel, on
going
the
on.
other hand, is about
It's
to
not a
re-release
fake
their
universe,
masterpiece.
Dad. Marvel is real. So is DC.
Well, no, and the funny thing is, DC is cutting all this stuff out.
Morgana, the Shadow, and the Phantom are also real.
Marvel, on the other hand, in 2 months, I think it's May, they are starting the re-release of the Masterworks that are out of print right now with Spider-Man.
Yep. Actually, they're doing like Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men, and there was one other.
For $16 a pop for 10 stories.
All right.
And
Well,
it's
if it's coming out in May,
nice
then we know what to get Mom for Mother's Day and for her birthday.
I believe I already bought that for her on the original Masterworks thing, but yes. But no, DC is there is going to be a big downfall here. They're always going to have their movies and TV thing. I don't think that's going away, but their comics division is about to bottom out.
Well, we've been saying that for a while, though. Anyway,
unless
they're going to sell their comics division to who? Marvel? Because that's
yeah.
You know what?
Say there's no one who will buy it.
Oh no! That's
Marvel will buy.
Marvel will buy DC like a motherfucker.
I don't underestimate Image.
We want.
Oh, do you think Image could purchase?
Tank, I'm just going to say this real quick. Mom says, my tank is awesome, all caps, with an exclamation point.
Oh, thank you, Mom.
Don't underestimate Image. They could circle the wagon. Skybound is in that, so you've got Kirkman cash.
I didn't think about that. Kirkman could do it.
Don't underestimate Image in this.
Kirkman could do it by himself.
Yes. And he could leverage just about everything he has to pull it off. Especially, who knows how much money he signed up for the Invincible freaking TV series for Netflix. Now you got Netflix money behind him. So who says?
Dad, Marvel is not going bankrupt.
He might, at this point, I think that Kirkman might be the richest comic book person right now.
Oh, absolutely. He kicked McFarlane's dick in the dirt a long time ago.
Well, I'm just saying, because of all of that, the Walking Dead stuff with Invincible, he's writing another comic right now, I think, too.
Two more.
Do we know what they are?
I don't remember. I heard about it a while ago. Could search it up, but
he's got stuff in the works. He's not done by any stretch of the imagination.
But then even then, you could take him and McFarlane. McFarlane's still an Image guy.
Yep. There's still players in Image. Don't count them out just yet. Don't count them out yet.
They could buy it, and they've sold off some of their assets recently. So
anything could happen.
Buy DC. Wow, that'd be interesting,
wouldn't it? That would be awesome.
All right. Well, the next topic that was actually brought up by our viewers is, even though Marvel apparently doesn't exist, is going bankrupt, and is a big fat dumb. Thank you, Daddy.
Yeah.
No time in the near future will that happen.
Yeah. Marvel does exist, is not going bankrupt, is actually doing quite well, thank you, and is nowhere near a big fat dumb. But he does say Dad says nothing will happen to DC. Batman could come out with another movie. But Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's where I was going with this, Dad. Stop interrupting. Dad, Hulk is not a pussy.
Bobbi, it's chat. You don't have to
read it.
No, you do. That's the whole point of live stream, is to interact with your viewers.
Eventually, you can stop for a second.
Please hashtag that Hulk is not a pussy. Just hashtag Hulk is not a pussy. Please remember to do that, because that's freaking classic.
Although Batman could probably beat the Hulk because of So
absolutely.
Okay.
So Falcon and the Snowman.
Yes. So the Bird and Olaf premiered last week.
So
You gotta give him credit for making the characters actually more interesting.
Yes, with depth and development.
They made
In a single 40-minute episode.
They went down the whole PTSD thing.
Winter Soldier.
Really a good angle and very
even showing him like on the floor and such.
Oh yeah. When they did that, I immediately was like, "Oh shit, they're really gonna."
Bye, Vance. He has to drop. He hasn't watched it yet.
With him waking up on the floor like that, oh man.
Yeah, it was a very different feel from what all the trailers were showing us.
Oh, and with him talking with the therapist, like, I've been fighting a war for 80 years.
Yeah.
I've been going from one war to the next for 80 years. I don't know what peace is.
I like the therapist.
Oh, fuck the therapist.
I agree. I think she's a stereotype of the therapist.
No, she's not.
She's a military therapist.
She's
a
military
Kind of how they act.
Yeah, fuck the therapist.
I like her.
I'm not a therapist because of that.
I agree.
No, I like her.
I agree with Smurf, unfortunately. Fuck the therapist.
But let's talk about that whole open sequence with what's his name from Winter Soldier with Captain America, Bigelow.
Yeah.
What was his name?
I don't know.
But the whole opening sequence with the helicopters and the Falcon was, you know what?
Batroc?
Yeah, was that? No, it wasn't Batroc.
Yes, it was. That was Batroc the Leaper.
Oh, yeah, it was. So, that whole opening sequence, absolutely awesome.
That was a
my
$20 million sequence, I think.
At least.
Dude, it definitely felt like
It was totally worth it. It was awesome.
That was ridiculous.
I think they shot the whole show's budget in that opening sequence, and I'm absolutely fine with that.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
So
that was awesome.
It's so weird coming from WandaVision starting the way it does to this starting the way it did.
But here's the thing. This is what was supposed to start the whole TV series.
Yeah, I know.
But you know what? If it had started, if this had been our first jump on point, and then we went to WandaVision, I think it would have been an absolute letdown.
Yeah,
I don't think
WandaVision quicker.
Yeah, I think the way it worked out is better than what they had planned.
I think
because
so.
it's a slower burn and a better ramp up. Because now Loki is going to come in and freaking close it out.
And he's going to fuck the universe up.
Yeah, he's going to hit the cheap seat.
All right, I will give Dad credit for this one. He says the opening sequence is what will keep viewers throughout the entire series.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue that because I think that it's a solid part. It actually shows, okay, we're gonna get dirty, we're gonna get gritty, and we're gonna blow shit up. And I'm totally on board for that.
And the way they did it too, they opened with this giant fight scene that immediately led into a quiet scene. Like immediately went from this over the top, hyper aggressive, super action movie to this quiet, desperate feeling that you start feeling for Falcon immediately. Like he doesn't know what to do.
And it does bring some very valid points to light as far as the blip. Mm-hmm. How do you take into account of people that suddenly reappear after 5 years of being gone, just not here? So, and Falcon can't really explain where he's been. He can just say he's been off world. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows he's an Avenger, but why? I find the whole like family aspect story kind of trite because, and I think this is just pride fucking with him. Because let's face it, he could go to Stark and say, "I need money."
Stark's dead.
Stark is dead, but you've got Rhodes right there next to him, and you're going to tell me that there's not a direct pipeline into Stark International.
He easily could get the money. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All he'd have to do is ask for it.
Pepper is still around. We've got Stark still around.
And especially since he does specifically say in like the very beginning that he's wearing Stark tech.
Yeah. So it's
that opened up an interesting box of worms because if they're fucking with his stuff, why?
Yeah. Well, and nobody can understand it because Stark is gone. So if it breaks,
why is the U.S. government messing with his stuff? That makes it an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Well, and who knows what happened with the fallout? I mean, the Avengers compound gets blown to shit. We don't know what tech made it out. We don't know what's left. Pepper probably did her best to try and, circle the wagons and get things handled, but
almost as smart people do still exist in that universe, but that it kind of implies that the U.S. government has taken hold of Stark's assets somehow.
Yes.
Which is
Well,
interesting.
I didn't see it that way, because the way I see it is he was saying that he's been working with the U.S. government, and every time they try to touch his gear, it gets
They
fucked
fuck it
up.
Which makes me think, are they doing it on purpose, or are they
trying to understand it and mess it up?
Yeah, is this they don't know what they're doing, and if they don't know what they're doing, then why don't they go to a third party who does? Or are they doing it on purpose?
Who's that going to be? Are they going to bring in Justin Hammer again?
No, they're going to bring in Peter Parker.
Bruce is still around.
Yeah, kind of.
Smart Hulk.
He is Smart Hulk now. He's Professor Hulk.
Of which Mother gave her impression, rip, 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 green arg.
And even though at this point he's, I guess, probably not on the run at this point, and he is a kid, but he is a super intelligent kid, Peter Parker is still there at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got Peter. We got
and is a major player in Stark Industries.
Well, you've got Peter. You've got the kid that came out of Iron Man 3, who was at the funeral.
Rhodey's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Rhodey's still there, and there was rumor that they're going to try and bring in Amadeus Cho into it as well, but I don't know if that's going to happen, because
and they still have what is her name?
And just because Tony was the whiz kid at Stark doesn't mean everybody else who worked there was a complete moron.
No, look at what happened in Far From Home.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Mysterio and that whole crew, so it could open the door. Who knows what it's going to unfold? I mean, especially because we got Echo, who's the bartender's chick.
Yep.
And we got Baron Zemo still to show up. So I'm very curious to see how this all unfolds.
I'm thinking we might get Malice. That's the one I'm waiting for.
Malice would be fun.
That would be crazy cool to bring Malice into this, because they're putting the kind of potential there. We're definitely going to be getting Isaiah Bradley at some point.
Yep. I actually would not be upset if we got a War Machine. I would love to see War Machine suit up in this six episode stretch.
I'm assuming it's going to happen at some point.
Especially since we've seen Brody already.
Huh?
No, we know Rhodey's there, but actual War Machine being there.
Yes, I know, but since we've already seen Brody, I think that seeing War Machine is very probable.
Well, and I think they're going to, because they want to have a lead-in for Armor Wars, which is going to happen. So,
I wonder if we'll get a Guardian in this series then.
A Red Guardian? I'm thinking so. I'm thinking so too, because they're laying a lot of little hints, and if you watch through the entire credits, they basically tell you, like, oh yeah, these people are going to show up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of watch out. And what is the Flag Smashers? The dude that is Flag Smasher in the comic books, I think
the blonde-haired guy with the pill popping and all that crap.
I think they're going to go a different route with this, and it's going to be his daughter.
Really?
Yeah, that's a possibility, and we don't know how U.S. Agent is going to evolve, but that is who's standing up there in Cap's uniform at the end of episode 1. Yeah, and U.S. Agent is a total tool bag in the comic.
And he looks like it. And
the number of memes that have come out in the past 3 days.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So the actor,
have you guys
the actor is actually Kurt Russell's son.
Yep.
And he's all like, please don't hate me. It's okay to hate the character. I'm just playing a role.
No,
and he's like, this is going to explode into so much more. Just give it time. But he's like, please, just don't hate me. I'm not trying to replace Captain America. It's actually been pretty funny.
But like, have you guys seen like the dude from Up
watch
as Cap?
Watch Black Mirror. He was in one of those. He was the guy doing the VR testing thing, the play test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the same.
I like the Jerky Boys meme that I saw. That was hilarious. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're going to be going some interesting places, I think, with this show, and they're definitely, obviously, they're tapping into the political idea. They're tapping into they're going to be. It looks like they're going to be doing some Black Lives Matter kind of stuff with it.
Yeah.
They've kind of shown that that's what's going to happen.
I really want to know what else we're going to get on the Wakanda front, because Bucky's already mentioned Wakanda.
We will probably get a small snippet, but I don't see Black Panther universe playing a huge role in this show.
I don't, unless there's a malfunction with the arm, I wouldn't expect to see Wakanda at all.
Well, we might get. I'm saying like a closing kind of last couple episodes. Maybe they'll hint at it to kind of lead into their, because they're doing that Wakanda show at some point in the near future.
And that's supposed to be coming out this year.
Well, I think that's next year.
I thought that was this year. Let me.
I think it's 2022 for.
Allow me to do the Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not be. I'm not expecting anything from the Wakanda side.
Nothing.
I would be surprised.
I mean, at least to talk about the tech that's in his arm.
Well, and that's why I'm saying we might get someone on a phone or something like that, but it's not going to be a big cross thing. It's going to be a small thing that lets you know that Wakanda still exists, and we're going to explore that later. That's it. They're not going to go deep on that one, I don't think.
Yeah, until they figure out what exactly they're going to do with the replacement Black Panther, I think it's better to let that lie.
I found a perfect.
They've
way
already
they
started
can do
doing
it.
filming
I think
and
we
such.
are going to get a Spider-Man lead in though by the end of this.
What would make me happy is if they took a page from the comic, they introduced Namor, he goes with Wakanda and kills Black Panther like he does in the comics.
That would be cool.
It would totally fix it. It would be in line with the comics. It brings in Shuri like they wanted to, and yet no time do you have to show Boseman's face, and you get to introduce Namor. That would just be absolutely icing on the cake.
But I think
it would fix a lot of problems.
Well, and they could also.
Or would they do that in a movie, though?
They could do it in a movie. They could do it in a series. Because if you do that storyline, because you could bring in Latveria too, so that brings Doctor Doom in, and it brings in Namor, and it solves a lot of this weird kind of limbo that those characters have been placed in with Fantastic Four just now being reacquired by Marvel. So if you bring those characters in before the Fantastic Four, I think would be absolutely a breath of fresh air. Let's bring in the villains. Fuck the FF.
Well, the one thing
everything I'm seeing is saying Wakanda TV series is this year.
Is it? Okay.
And Stache, if you sneezed, apparently Mom saw it and says bless you.
Oh, thank you.
I think we're going to be getting a X-Men thing. I don't think it's going to be direct. I think it's going to be hinted at through the Weapon X program. Because if they're going to be bringing in, we already have the Captain America tie-in. If they're going to be bringing in the Isaiah Bradley stuff too, that hints at the original Super Soldier experiments, which leads into Weapon X. So
we'll see.
We might see a little Weapon X thing in here. So I don't know, maybe a Deadpool cameo of some kind or something.
God, I would love that. I know we don't see it, but I would fucking love that.
Or they could do a Wolverine thing and tie it back to the old stuff, maybe. I don't know. But I do think we're going to get a Weapons X something in this. Just to kind of tie those things together. Just because everyone that's in the show basically is tied to that program. Like,
sure.
A lot of those, the Red Guardian stuff, the Winter Soldier stuff, those are all kind of tied back to that Weapons X thing.
Yeah.
So, and with him righting his wrongs being a major motivation for his...
I like his list.
Yeah. And that being a big part of the story, it seems, like him trying to right his wrongs of the past, that leans into, they're going to talk about the experimentation stuff at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see us getting Loki, though, at all.
Well, here's the thing. We're going to get the whole Loki series, so I don't think it needs to tie in here.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to do that. They're
Well,
gonna give us-
I think the reason they don't want to do that is because this is a good contrasting series to what we got from WandaVision.
And
Because
Loki's going to be
WandaVision has like the more magic. This is the more science and
This is the more.
side of things. And
Well,
I
no,
think
this
it's
is more the spy
good
stuff.
Yeah, this is the spies and the buddy cop stuff.
Yeah, it's like, but it's more based in reality.
Oh,
and
yes.
less in the magical. And I think right now they want a good balance of the both in order to show how these things integrate later on in the development of this universe.
And that's why I also think that we're going to get a Spider-Man tie-in at the end, but it's not going to be tying into the new Spider-Man movie. It's going to be tying into the Far From Home movie, I think.
Which makes sense because of based on the timeline and when this is actually taking place.
This is going to end right before that movie starts.
Right.
Yeah, basically. So we'll probably get some small snippet of Spider-Man at some point. I don't know if it's going to be him, but it's going to be connecting to that story, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, well, while we're in the
Overall, it was a good start. It was a good episode.
I'm intrigued.
They gave
It didn't
depth.
suck.
They gave depth to Falcon and Winter Soldier and opened up a universe a little bit to let us peek in on it.
Everybody was really worried that Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to be an epic bomb after WandaVision, and they've gotten our attention.
And they still may be right. I mean, it's hard to say what the 6 episodes is going to bring, but at least the first episode didn't suck.
But now they have our attention.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
Mother!
And it was a cool way to introduce include Batroc. That was really cool, actually.
I did like the opening sequence. God, that was good.
The way that they brought him back into the story, because essentially he was hired by Nick Fury in the Winter Soldier movie. He was supposed to steal that stuff. He was hired by the government, and that. So to bring him back in, who is he working for now?
Good question.
Because he's a mercenary. That's all Batroc is.
He's
He
been
doesn't
hired by the
Not a
new
very good one, but he's a mercenary.
Yeah, he's not
by this
or anything
new
like that. He's a straight up mercenary.
band of villains. Okay, so I do want to move on to our next topic, but before we do, I just want to say my parents are having way too much fun with this back and forth chat thing that's happening over on the side. I have stopped reading their stuff out loud.
Good.
Doesn't mean I've stopped reading it. And I think that all of you viewers, fans, the rest of my cohorts should go out and read this beautiful discussion that my parentals are having that is discussing the merits of Jennifer Lawrence, Spidey's small snippets, and other such lovely nonsense. But we were in the MCU, so let's talk about the fact that Black Widow is being postponed again. So it's getting pushed out more than a year from its original release date.
Fine. I'm not surprised. They have to make it make sense, and it's not like Disney is hurting for cash.
Yeah, but all right, if you look at when they're talking about releasing it now, they're currently talking about it over, what is it, Memorial Weekend?
So the end of May?
Yeah.
Which means they didn't very much.
No,
Yeah.
but they moved it like 4 weeks. And I think that the reason they're moving it that far is because the current estimation, according to the US government, is that everybody will have a chance for vaccination by the end of May, which is why they're pushing it out to the end of May.
And that's fine. If I can see this film in the theater, I would rather see it in the theater.
As would I, but, and here's my thing, other titles that are supposed to be coming out that same time frame, right? There's a very, very big list, including a lot from me.
Yeah, but that
You
might
know?
get moved around too.
Yeah, they'll just move it around. Let's just face it, Disney's going to dominate the box office for the next 2 years.
At least.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've got everything stockpiled in the can. They're just waiting for life to resume, already in progress. And thank you for waiting. Here's a bunch of movies to say we love our fans.
What, 7 movies? 8 movies in the next year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Disney.
No, neither am I.
So I have to wait a few more weeks.
It's just how many
To be
movies are getting
honest with
shifted
you,
out.
I'm okay with it.
We're
I don't
playing
care.
this eternal like shuffle. So in my muggle life, I'm an event planner, right? And so I feel like this is the ever-changing like seating arrangements, and so you're like, no, I'm going to put this person over here. No, this person slept with my friend. They have to sit over here. No, this person over here wears a cologne that makes this person have a bad reaction. So this person has to sit over here. And I feel like that's what they're doing with all the movies right now. And they're playing this weird jumble of mix and match, and they really just don't know where everybody's going to end up. And we're all fucking confused. And
with Marvel, they do know. I think they pushed it exactly how long they pushed it, based on what you just said.
For Marvel, yes.
Yeah.
For the rest of the movies that are also coming out this year, no.
No.
Yeah, because like, how long have we been waiting for James Bond? It's been like almost
year and a half.
Yeah, roughly a year and a half.
It's like, it's going to be so long because they're just waiting and figuring things out. We're starting to really see the results of what happens when COVID hits. If it hits at the wrong time, like there are years added onto a project.
The next couple of years for the entertainment industry is going to be a lot of shuffling.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things we have to accept, and unfortunately, it's affecting all entertainment. Television, video games are seeing delays pretty much daily now, and it's like, it's hard because now that entertainment is more valuable to us than it's ever been before. But we have to understand that, like, the switching to all online for entertainment is something that's oftentimes impossible. It's like, I couldn't imagine designing the special effects for a movie without having a decent group of people to bounce ideas off of.
And I wouldn't want it to go to all online.
Oh, and with Marvel specifically, they work years in advance. Their concept artists know more about the movie that's coming up before we even know that the movie is in existence.
Yeah.
This is true.
So with them, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, but I think at this point they're kind of set where they're at now.
Well, and I do think that the Black Widow move is very, very, it's only a couple of weeks.
Well, and it's strategic. They want to get as many people out as they can.
They want butts in seats.
And if they can push this, essentially what it does is they're saying, okay, well, you're going to finish watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then you're going to have about 2 weeks. And then we're going to drop Black Widow. And then you're going to have about 2 weeks. And we're going to drop Loki.
Yeah. And they haven't said that the reason they're pushing it out is because of the vaccine availability. That's my best guess.
That's probably a safe guess, honestly. They're going to push it and like.
But it could be. It could be because of the time frame of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
It evens out the pacing of their movies a little bit, and it evens out the pacing of their television and the movies at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's always been kind of the thing with Marvel, is they hit really heavy at the beginning and the end of the year, but summer movies, they're kind of hit or miss depending on the year. It's like, so we have these big gaps in between the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if this causes them to even out, it's like, I say go for it. It's like it makes viewing a little more pleasurable when you don't have to go to a Marvel movie like twice in a month, like 3 times if you need to re-see the movie. One of the movies, it's like it gets a little heavy when that's the case.
Well, and I think that they're actually still going to be releasing some of these things out onto digital, just because, some people are not going to feel comfortable going to theaters yet.
Are you talking about Disney?
Yeah.
Oh, Black Widow, I'm assuming it's going to be at least a month before it hits Disney.
Right, but it
No,
will.
they're gonna do the same thing
way
they did with
sooner.
the Disney movies that came out. You can rent them for $30 or whatever.
That's not a rental. That's an
offers.
own. As long as you have, the Disney whatever, you own it
Disney
forever.
Premiere. Yeah. Do you think they're actually going to do that with Black Widow?
Yeah.
I think they will.
Because they want to make that money. It's like people aren't going to, even if everyone could be offered a vaccine, like I will go to very infrequent movies at that point.
Yeah, but Black Widow isn't the same as the other movies that they've done it with. The other movies they've done it with are specifically family stuff.
Yeah.
Black Widow doesn't look like it's going to be a family movie. It's going to be a Marvel movie, but it looks like they're planning on getting a little bit darker because they're going to be telling her backstory.
Well, they better because they need to.
It's going to be darker, but I still think that they might do the premiere access.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's too early for them to discontinue that potential revenue source. Even if every time they release a movie like that, everyone hates it. But, I mean, they tested it with the Disney movies that aren't that big a deal if they come out right away. Marvel's a big deal. Because you want to be part of that dialogue. And if you aren't, people will spoil it for you.
Oh, yeah.
So people are more willing to pay that money than they are for a Disney movie.
That's true.
You're not wrong. I'm not going to say you're the opposite of wrong, but you're not wrong.
Yeah. That's how determined Bobbi is to make sure I'm not right. But I don't know. It's really curious to see. I'm excited to see how this develops. I mean, honestly, I'm very intrigued on how Winter Soldier started. I just did not expect it to be this heavy to start with.
Well, it hit hard, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully they maintain this pace.
But
quality.
Marvel, I know Stache last year said that he needed a break from Marvel because he was marveled out. And we got a decent break.
Yeah.
And now I think Marvel is hitting exactly the way it needs to.
Oh, they're going to be hitting full throttle, I think, for a while after this.
Yeah. Is Strange still slatted for
later this year?
Early next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
Early next year, later this year. Let me double check the release date.
No, I said it was early next year.
I believe it's February of next year.
Okay.
Because we're getting Eternals late summer.
Horrible idea.
And we're getting Spider-Man early winter.
We're getting it in March of 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
I think
March of
that's
next
gonna
year.
be when Marvel starts hitting really hard. I think that's going to be their big movie that really pushes things forward.
I don't know. I think the Spider-Man No Way Home is kind of...
Yeah.
I think that one's going to probably be more like...
That's going to be the rev up?
I think that's going to be it. Because I think at that point...
Because Far From Home was our thread.
Yep.
And I think that Spider-Man has way more impact than he's ever had before.
Well, and he has way more identity also.
Yeah.
We know who Spider-Man is.
He's no longer just this dude in a red suit that, hangs upside down and kisses chicks.
And I think this is going to actually set the pace and the tone for what's coming. So it's going to be packed full of a lot of tastiness. We're going to see it set up strange, which I think we've already seen in WandaVision. especially with Scarlet Witch. So I think it's just going to like further drive home the point that Marvel's back and it means business.
And we're probably going to get a little bit of it. We're probably going to get a little bit in Loki.
Oh, absolutely in Loki. Because if they do like,
go ahead.
And it says if they do anything they did with the comics, where Loki became Sorcerer Supreme for a while,
that was hilarious.
That was great. I mean, that was an excellent story. And if they even take a little snippet of that and kind of cross over into Strange to set up that film, I'm all for it. I think Hiddlestaff is brilliant.
I think he's got the chops to do it.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, yeah, without a doubt.
And I think, and we'll get a little, like, we'll probably get a small piece in Eternals somehow.
I fucking hate Eternals. Such a bad idea.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see how everything plays out.
That's what everyone said about Guardians of the Galaxy. That's my hope.
I did. No. I was the only one on the other side of that fence that knew exactly what we were going to get with Guardians of the Galaxy, and
a lot of people didn't.
I was the one championing that flag. I marched down Grand Central Avenue saying Guardians is going to be the best goddamn film, and guess what? I was right. Eternals is a lame idea that Marvel continues to fail, but shoved down everybody's throats. It sucks. It's a horrible bunch of little idiots gathered together for some lame-ass reason that nobody cares about and no one has ever read.
I know, but you know what they're going to do with it.
Please, stop holding back. Tell us what you think.
If they're smart, you know what they're going to do with it. And they're going to poke the X-Men button, and they're going to poke the Thanos button, and they're going to do those little things. If
they're going to be smart, they're going to poke Angelina Jolie's buttons and let her walk around half naked through the fucking film. That's the only way this thing is going to be sold, in my opinion. Because my expectations for this film are negative. Really bad. Yeah, I think I honestly think we are about to see Marvel's first bomb. I really do. The Eternals is not a solid concept. And they keep trying to sell it. And they've done it every couple of years with their new title, a new relaunch, and it just fails miserably.
Well, they treated it as a one-off, though.
And one time they treated it as a one-off. The other time they tried to integrate it. The other time they tried to take them out of this universe and put them in a different one. Every time it's something different, and none of the formulas that they tried to apply to this poor failed title have worked.
Well, they just restarted it in the comics again.
Well, we shall see.
We shall see. I may be wrong. You could be right, Tank, but I think in Eternals we are seeing Marvel's first bomb.
You should make a bet on it, Tank.
A standard Smurf bet is $5 of stash cash.
How are we going to criteria this bomb?
I don't know.
We'll have to order the Dark World, or
I don't know. We have to figure out the rules for that bet.
Yeah. All right.
Let me think on that one. Stash just wants to see me lose a bet. That's all.
Because he hasn't yet.
I don't know anything about that IP, so I'm not gonna take that bet.
I know a decent amount about that IP, and it seems that Smurf does also. They do not have a great track record in the comic books.
We shall see what happens. All right. Speaking of comic books, Tank, you were saying something fabulous, or at least very confusing, about Batwoman.
Oh yeah.
That's not comic books. That's in the show.
Yeah, this is in the Berlanti-verse. So we had an interesting thing happen in the last 2 weeks. Ruby Rose, who previously played Kate Kane, said she was not against coming back as Batwoman. That was about 2 weeks ago. This week, they basically killed that idea. They have we have a new Batwoman as Kate Kane in the very near future, and they killed. Well, they're saying they killed the character in the Batwoman show. Kate Kane is no more, but then we kind of get the idea that she is. It's just not Ruby Rose anymore. It's a new actor. What is her name?
Hold on, I'll pull it up.
She was
Wallace Day.
There you go.
He's coming over from the Krypton show, which they ended recently. So they basically told Ruby Rose to go F herself and have got us a new Kate Kane. I don't know if she's going to be the same Kate Kane or a different universe as Kate Kane or what they're planning on doing with that. But they have officially killed off the Ruby Rose Kate Kane, it seems.
Because I know at the end of the show, they basically stated that they found parts of her. They didn't identify what parts, but she washed up on the shores of Bloodhaven, where Nightwing hangs out, and they were able to identify the parts through DNA.
And then, well, the only issue that kind of happened with that is they did give us a hostage, seemingly. They
did, and that was just like a red herring. That was just one big misdirect.
I think, well, I don't think it is. I think that's Day's Kate Kane. But I think they killed the original one, and this is a different universe's Kate Kane.
Maybe. I mean, this show is just so badly written and just lazy writing and just nonsense. Stache wouldn't even accept this in anything he would ever read.
Stache would hate the shit out of it. What
Stache, or is it so bad that he would like it? Because this is coming. He's the same man who likes all of the Sharknado movies.
This is bad for a different reason.
Yeah, there's fundamental differences between
those movies are bad because
they're bad.
Intentionally made that way.
Yeah, they're horrible.
These
on purpose.
Creature features, B-movie type of production, all of that's on purpose.
I was just asking because I have not watched it because I have heard nothing but terrible, terrible things.
This is supposed to be a driver for the Berlantiverse.
Oh, well, in which case the Berlantiverse apparently sucks my metaphorical cock.
Like, initially, this was supposed to overlap with Superman and Lois.
Not going to happen.
Kind of give them a little bit of credibility, which apparently needs to go the other fucking direction at this point because that show is awesome.
Yep. Actually, the only critical thing that I have to say about Superman and Lois is I'm upset that they haven't brought Supergirl in.
Yet.
Melissa Benoist. Well, they haven't brought her in because I honestly thought, okay, we have Martha Kent pass away. And I mean, that kind of sets up like a big family event that I would think Supergirl would be there for.
Well, with her show ending, we might see that towards the end of the season.
Maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
And here's the thing. We're having a weird season break with Superman and Lois anyway.
Correct. She's coming in to fill them prematurely going into hiatus.
Yeah, it's not a connection between the shows. It's literally they couldn't continue filming.
Right, because of a COVID thing. But
yes. So I'm kind of upset that they've just ignored Supergirl when she's the one that's been carrying the S for the last few years. Now, granted, I know I have called that series vanilla more times than I can count, but they have done a lot more with this series than I ever thought they would.
Well, and especially this last season.
Super title. Yeah.
The last season was great, actually.
Yes. And I don't know if that has to attribute to like different writing or bringing in different characters or actually taking a different approach than they had years prior, which was questionable.
Well, part of that is obviously the crier of it all.
Yes, we get a decent Lex Luthor.
Yeah. I think there's going to be some sort of connection, but I think that the timing of Superman and Lois is because it's been known previously to us finding out that Melissa was going to step away from Supergirl.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's why. They started like, okay, well, she's going to leave. We need to have our super family thing
in place.
Yeah. And then they gave him credibility during the Final Crisis event, and they, gave the story agency from that, and they said, let's build from there. But this story also seems to be the timeline of the story is the confusing part.
Yes, because I don't know where it takes place.
Know when this is happening, because the end of Final Crisis gave us the twins being born.
Correct. So we don't. There's a significant jump from the twins being born to them now being in high school.
Yeah, they are now 14 years old.
Yes.
So
Shit.
I don't know if that's because the entire universe jumped forward, or if this happened in the past and they just kind of sped it up, and we don't get to see that 14 years that happened, basically.
Good question. I'm hoping they address it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell. All right. Well, that is all I had on my list for this evening. Do any of you fellas have anything else to add?
Nothing comes to mind here.
In the Heights was a good trailer. Looks interesting.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I figured I would just go on a separate tirade offline and, do my little, theater heart happy. And
Show off your boobs.
Watch The
You
Flash
want-
and watch
they
Superman and
always-
Lois. Those are the best two shows right now for that universe.
Yeah.
uh,
Flash
Black
is just-
Lightning also, they replaced Lightning.
They did. I laughed. Oh, and then I was just thinking, yeah, we just saw her on, Hoobie Halloween, was it? And I was just like, wow, just how she couldn't even hold on to a gig in Black Lightning.
I don't think I think she stepped away.
She did, and I don't know why. She's gonna end up like Ruby Rose, coming back, going, please can I have a job because nobody wants to hire me and I need a paycheck.
Well, and apparently next week's, I think, episode of Black Lightning is supposed to be the backdoor pilot for Painkiller.
Oh,
So
fuck that title.
well, before we
I'm
go,
excited about it. Smurf doesn't care.
a couple of shameless plugs. Please check out my fabulous new, incredibly kinky, totally into butt stuff website, petplaypalace.com. If you want to buy comic books, collectibles, video games, or anything else like that, check out Knox Nostalgic Collectibles. And if you haven't noticed, Smurf's t-shirt, our big sister station and our host on Podbean, 5280 Geek. So make sure you check them out as well. Stache has nothing for us to plug other than his bumhole. So send him giant dildos and we will plug that up. So,
We end as we began, with the ass.
but of course, we shall come full circle and end as we began on the butt stuff.
Enjoy your butt play, people.
As long as it's consensual, I say do what makes you happy. Smurf, are you breathing enough to give us our typical outro?
Oh my God! And on that bombshell, we shall say goodnight. We'll be back next week with Lord knows what. Probably some more butt stuff for sure. But in the meantime, run fast, laugh hard, and always be kind.